This morning at the Drum we're hosting our latest breakfast briefing, and this one looks at the topic of content marketing. We're going to look at it from two angles. We're going to take it from the publisher perspective, but also from the brand perspective to see how marketers can harness the power of this, the fastest growing of the marketing disciplines.
I think the interesting thing for me is to look at whether we need to label content marketing what it is, or whether we just need to look at making good content and getting on with the job. For me, the brands who are getting involved in content marketing are being braver than ever before, but at the same time there's still a lot of quite poor content out there, and I think in the session today we just heard a lot of great examples of good approaches to content, whether from a publisher, from a brand, or working through an agency, how that can work for you. And I've come away a bit inspired about working with these other partners and also working with brands who are up for it. Okay, so for 2016, we've been looking at, on one hand, ways to be more engaging in the content that you share with viewers. So with the advent of interactive video content, where you choose your way through a film, you increase engagement through this type of content, but also you can change the call to action at the end of that film based on the decisions your viewer has made. Along with personalisation, where you take the data from a customer and you can ultimately create a completely bespoke film on the fly for that customer, which can also end in a sort of different call to action to drive response. But also, aside from that, just the idea that you can be more always on. So consumers are consuming all of the time, and often brands and businesses tend to have these campaign cycles where they have their big campaigns, but in between they're not building that base. And I think as YouTube channels benefit from regular content, it's time for brands to start to move into this space where they're more regular and more strategic in how they're producing branded content. And that means really letting the content breathe and creating content that your audience is genuinely interested in. So I think the advent of always-on marketing is something that will really start to flourish this year.
I think the biggest thing is that a lot of the big platforms, Facebook and alike, are beginning to screw us in terms of their algorithms and that kind of stuff. So as marketers, we've got to find new ways to get our content to our audiences. Yeah, paid media is a really important part of that, and taking that kind of always-on methodology with your paid media activity. But again, yeah, partnering with publishers in the right sectors, obviously, to get your content out via those channels, I think is going to be really important. And it's been interesting because some of it, I think, right at the start's been a little bit sneaky, but we are having to be more transparent about what we're doing now and really seeing that kind of come through. I think the biggest interest for me is, particularly because I don't quite often sit in the kind of publishing kind of environment, is actually seeing how brands are collaborating more with publishers now to get their content out further. I think that's one of the really interesting pieces that I've taken from today.
I think we've had a really involving morning here looking at the topic of content marketing. I think we've seen how always-on video is becoming a very important topic. We've seen how brands really need to let go of their brand a little bit and trust the publishers, but we've also seen how publishers need to really understand their audiences and work with them to produce a great piece of work.
We've got a real wide variety of panellists from the content marketing world, from the mobile world, agency and creative. We're going to see what 2016 holds for us and what brands should be looking out for